It was 3 a.m. in Seoul and the city was asleep. But the internet was about to wake up to a reality check that the K-pop industry had been desperately trying to hide for years. Jungkook, the golden maknae of BTS, went live on Weverse, not with a scripted apology or a perfectly curated aesthetic, but with a drink in his hand, his brother by his side, and a level of honesty that would send shockwaves through the fandom. He wasn't performing, he was just existing. He talked about life, he laughed, and then he admitted something that in any other industry would be a non-issue, but in K-pop is tantamount to a cardinal sin. He admitted that he used to smoke and that he had quit. He looked at the camera, seemingly tired of the weight on his shoulders, and said, "I'm 30 now, why can't I talk about this?" In that moment, the live stream wasn't just a chat, it was a rebellion. But the reaction that followed proved that for many fans, they didn't want a human being. They wanted a product that never malfunctioned. The backlash was swift and frankly terrifying in its intensity. Almost immediately after the live stream ended, the video was deleted, a move that fans speculated was either a decision by the agency to control the damage or perhaps Jungkook's own reaction to the toxic flood of comments filling the screen. But deleting the video didn't silence the explosion. The internet went into a meltdown. Here was a man who had done the responsible thing. He quit smoking for his health. And yet, because he dared to acknowledge he wasn't perfect, he caught a case. It's a phrase that sounds absurd outside of this context, but inside the bubble of K-pop fandom, admitting to a past vice is treated with the same severity as a criminal offense. Fans weren't celebrating his honesty. They were mourning the death of a fantasy. They felt betrayed that the innocent, pure image they had constructed in their heads didn't match the reality of a grown man making adult choices. What happened next on Korean social media platforms wasn't just criticism. It was a visceral, disturbing display of possessiveness that crosses the line into psychological horror. Korean fans on Twitter began to unravel, not because they were worried about his health, but because he had shattered the delusion. Comments started flooding in, some so dark they wished him dead, simply because he had a drink and mentioned smoking. It didn't matter that he was relaxing with his brother. It didn't matter that he was respectful. The mere fact that he acted like a regular guy in his late 20s was seen as an act of aggression against the fans. They wanted the perfect, quiet, grateful little idol. And when Jungkook showed up as a real human being with flaws and a history, they reacted like he had stabbed them personally. It exposes a chilling reality. These fans don't see the idol as a person. They see them as an avatar that exists solely to serve their emotional needs. Then, out of nowhere, the tone of the live stream shifted from casual banter to something much heavier, giving us a glimpse into the mental toll this obsession takes on the artists. Jungkook got serious, looked directly into the lens, and addressed the invisible hatred that constantly swirls around him. He said, "I know there are people who want to humiliate me, who want to see me fail, who want me gone from this world." And then, with a nonchalance that comes from years of living under a microscope, he added, "Honestly, I don't care. I'm going to live however I want." He said it casually, but for anyone listening, it was a heart-stopping admission. This is the reality of K-pop stardom. It's not just music and dances. It's a constant battle for autonomy against a mob that thinks it owns you. He was telling them in no uncertain terms that he refused to be a robot anymore. The reaction from the Korean fandom to that specific statement was the ultimate proof of how deep the delusion runs. Instead of feeling sympathy for a man acknowledging that people want him to disappear, they doubled down on their anger. They couldn't care less about the threats to his life or the pressure he was under. They were mad because he had an attitude. They were mad because he wasn't begging for forgiveness. They were mad because he had the audacity to say he would live his life on his own terms. It raises the question, what is actually wrong with this culture? When a fan would rather see an idol destroy themselves than step out of a pre-assigned character, that isn't fandom. It's an obsession that needs therapy. It's a parasitic relationship where the fans drain the humanity out of the idol and get angry when there's nothing left but bone. There was a stark, undeniable divide in how this situation was processed. a split that highlights the difference between appreciating an artist and consuming a product. International fans, or International Army, largely fell in love with the man. They saw a guy having a drink, being honest, and setting boundaries. They cheered for his maturity and his refusal to be caged. On the other hand, a significant portion of the Korean fan base reacted with vitriol because they were attached to a character, a fictional version of Jungkook that was never going to exist forever. They had bought into the fantasy of the eternal youth, the innocent boy who never ages and never sins. When reality crashed into that fantasy, they didn't blame their own unrealistic expectations. They blamed him. But that wasn't his fault. That was always going to be their problem. This incident with Jungkook is a microcosm of a much larger, more insidious disease in the K-pop industry. It's about the commodification of intimacy. The industry sells these idols as boyfriends and girlfriends to the highest bidder, creating a transaction where fans feel they are owed romantic fidelity and behavioral perfection in exchange for their streams and merchandise sales. When Jungkook said, "I'm 30," he wasn't just stating his age. He was asserting his right to be an adult. But in an industry that profits from eternal adolescence, being an adult is the ultimate controversy. The live got deleted, the rumors swirled, and the hate trucks probably revved their engines. But Jungkook walked away with the one thing the industry tries to strip from them: his own soul. And if the fans can't handle that, they aren't fans of the music. They are fans of a control they will never truly have.